I've trained as a painter and as a printmaker, but I find it always very difficult to define my practice in terms of categories. I don't simply make one type of art. Therefore, I like to make the subject dictate my method. So if I'm inspired by, for example, I've been inspired by lenses recently, which has led me to be working more sculpturally and with projectors and with glass. And in the past, I have been interested in the concept of energy, and therefore I've looked at making work directly from coal or from light bulbs. But that is not to say that I don't have a particular aesthetic, and I think this is something I have been nurturing and developing over my career as an artist, and that lends itself to the conversation with medium, with subject matter. The result is that my practice operates across a range of technical fields, and I try and deconstruct and reconfigure form and content as I make my work. I guess it kind of began with the sun. I was looking at the sun in countries where it was there for 24 hours a day and then it would disappear for months on end. So I went to visit these places. I went to Svalbard in the Arctic Circle, and I also did an artist residency in Iceland where I travelled around the whole of the island for 2 weeks. And I went to these places both during what's termed as the midnight sun and also during the polar night. So sun and light kind of have been my focus for a long time. But most recently, I guess, my interpretation of light has been more concentrated on the idea of human perception and scientific discovery. So this has kind of led me to look at apparatuses like lenses and prisms. And I like the idea of that because looking at the lens as an object in itself as opposed to what it's usually aimed at. So I guess what I'm trying to do within my work is extend the eye and make you think about that space in between what you're seeing. Well, I've always been interested in the way in which scientific discoveries have disrupted everyday beliefs about light. For example, one of my pieces in the show, titled Before Newton, references the period in time before we really understood the light spectrum. Before Newton, people used to look at a prism and think that it was an imperfection in the glass that created this rainbow of light. They actually described it as a muddying effect. And because of this, you know, our understanding and knowledge of what we see around us is completely in context with the time we are in. I think of perception and knowledge as being really uncomfortable bedfellows. We are told so much about the world as being truth or fact, yet our understanding of it is constantly changing. This is why I like looking into history of science and looking at it from more of a narrative perspective, telling stories as opposed to telling truths. As you've gathered from the show, I have a large collection of lenses. Some I've gathered from science departments, others are second-hand and used to be part of binoculars or telescopes. And it's nice to give these objects a new life. And I've always been interested in the idea of an object having a story. There's a philosopher called J. Gibson who actually called this affordances, because an object offers value to us, and that's something I've always been interested in within my practice. The first piece of work I made actually using a lens is a piece titled Objektiv, which is German for lens. It also sounds similar to the English word objective, and I quite liked that relationship. And the idea that this lens is a way of providing a deeper intensity of seeing, giving a visual pathway to new knowledge. That doesn't mean that visual perception is objective. I would see it as, we see the world as a construct and we give it meaning. I would say art is a way for me to understand and engage with the world around me. It enables me to focus in on the heart of an idea. We live in a time of such fleeting information, and perhaps this is why I'm drawn to discoveries of the past and the outdating of ideas. But what I think really influences me is art that perhaps is a little bit different to my own practice. I take inspiration from painters and sculptors and contemporary and otherwise. So if asked what the most precious thing about the art world, it would probably be its inclusiveness and open to diversity within technical fields. I would say that other artwork really fuels my own, and without it, I wouldn't be so motivated to carry on with my practice. So I actually use all ranges of mediums. I use photography, video, collage, sculpture, drawing and installation. I find that I'm always in pursuit of different techniques. Of course that is hard and I can be very hit and miss, but I find that is perhaps where the magic of accidents happens. In my naivety of learning these new practices and these new crafts, I bring my own interpretation and my own mistakes, and this can lead to a whole new realm of possibilities.